Okay, we're going to go ahead and call a commission meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. And we will start with a flag salute. And on behalf of it being National Hispanic Heritage Month, we would like Erica to go ahead and do the flag salute for us.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Erica. Okay, we'll go ahead and do a roll call.
Okay, Commissioner Eventhoff, Commissioner Faulkner.
Here.
Commissioner Lecter's not here yet. Commissioner Pastorian is absent. Vice Chair Steed.
Here.
And Chair Wilson is absent.
Wonderful, thank you. And tonight we have a presentation by Michelle's Place. So Kim, if you can join us.
We do, Vice Chair Steed, and Commissioner Lecters will be here any moment.
Okay.
But we are very glad to have Executive Director Kim Garish here from Michelle's Place this afternoon, and we've been meaning to get her on the schedule for a minute, so very glad that she's here. And she's also provided us with a copy of the slides, so we can definitely get them to you all after the presentation.
Welcome. Well, welcome. Hello, friends. I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation. I'm excited to just talk a little bit about Michelle's Place and our resources, and then specifically the expansion. For those that don't know, Michelle's Place served breast cancer patients only for 17 years. We just turned 20 last November, so we're almost 21 years old, so it's fairly recent that we have expanded to all cancers. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that as we move forward. So this is our mission and our vision: empowering individuals and families impacted by cancer through education and support services. So it's not just the cancer patient, it's the entire family. And the vision that no one should face cancer alone. We changed that several years ago, even before we were expanded to all cancers, knowing that the need was there. Because as we were serving breast cancer patients, we had more and more people coming to us that needed services, that needed support. They would come in. We were an American Cancer Society, official wig bank of the American Cancer Society, and so we were getting all kinds of cancers coming in, needing wigs, and looking around saying, well, what is this place? And then wanting those same support services that breast cancer patients were getting. So we knew we were going to need to expand, so we expanded our vision fairly quickly. This is Michelle Watson. So Michelle's Place is named after Michelle Watson. She was 23 when she was diagnosed with 4th stage breast cancer after she had been misdiagnosed 3 separate times by 3 different doctors. She was young, she was healthy, she was a vegetarian, she was on the Colorado State swim team, and she had a lump in her breast that at 19, a doctor said, I'm sure you're fine, you have no family history, you're young, you're healthy, don't worry about it. And so she didn't, unfortunately 3 separate times. So when she moved back to Temecula with her family, she started studying holistic medicine. She was teaching swim lessons. She was going to go into the Peace Corps, and she was going through the physical and all the things that you go through when you're going to go into the Peace Corps. And the doctor said, you know, we need to check that lump out and see what that is. At this point, she did have a little bit of pain in her chest, but wasn't really worried about it. They did a biopsy, and she was diagnosed with 4th stage breast cancer at 23. It is very rare, but you know, the only thing that that's different than most stories is that she was young, because any woman and man, for that matter, is eligible, right? Cancer does not discriminate. So unfortunately, that was over 20 years. It was 22 years ago. Really not a lot here in Temecula, literally, but really nothing for cancer patients. And she struggled with that. She was young, and she had a devastating diagnosis. And so she struggled with the lack of support. She had great insurance, fabulous family support, but really no one to talk to about what she was going through. And that led her to Santa Barbara, where her aunt was working at the time as a nurse. She found the Santa Barbara Breast Center. Old house, you walk up the stairs, you walk in, it looks like someone's family room. It's a couch, it's a coffee table, it's a volunteer giving you a hug and saying, how can I help you? And it was about her, and it wasn't about the cancer. And she loved that, because everywhere else she went, it was like, oh my God, you're so young. Wow, how did you get breast cancer? You must have family history. What kind of treatment are you on? And here at the breast center, it was about her, the person. They had a lending library, they had meditation, they had Reiki. And they had young people to talk to, and she loved that. And she said to her parents, you got to do something like that where we live. And so she passed away at the age of 26, and 7 months later, her parents opened the very first Michelle's Place. They shared an office with a church, and really it was just someone on the other end of a phone line saying, how can I help you? And that's how we started just 21 years ago. We have since grown just a little bit, and that's what I want to talk about next. I have a video next that talks about our expansion. So like I said, the first 17 years, we provided just breast cancer. We had an opportunity to grow. Our lease was up in our current location. We were in 3,200 square feet. We were jam-packed. We had a class or an event or some sort of support group every single night of the week. We had staff stuffed into every corner of the room. We only had one general room, so we could only do one thing at a time, one support group, one program. So we knew we needed to expand, but what does that look like? How much space is enough? How do we serve all cancers? Can we serve all cancers? So it was either we stay or we grow. And the board unanimously chose to grow. And so the minute that came out of their mouth, the next thing I know, people are offering us places and things. And this building came to us, an opportunity came to us, and it was, the owner had owned it for many, many years. It's a strip mall center, and it was 10,000 square feet of space. Now we're currently in 3,200, and now it's gonna be 10. And it was, $3 million. I barely had enough money to run the center as is. Where am I going to get $3 million to build a cancer resource center? So he let us move in at 50 cents a square foot to live in while we raised the money, and that's what we did. So we moved in October of 2018. We had just over 9 months to raise $1.2 million to buy the building. The 10,000 square feet would be what we would occupy. Then there's an additional about 10,000 square feet that's spaces to rent, storefronts. And that would, ideally, the business plan was that those places would pay our mortgage, right? So it was a great business plan. We just had to raise the funds, and we did. We were able to raise the money in 2019 to buy our forever home. We're very proud of that. I will never do that again. Oh, thank you. Thank you. And expand to serve all cancers. So it was a really big year. This is a video that I want to share with you. It's from 2019 when we were able to purchase, and it just shows our construction process. I love having the right-hand digital guy. Audio-visual is just amazing.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to say thank you for your support in 2019. Michelle's Place took on a huge project, made a big move. We expanded all cancers, and we bought our forever home. And you made that happen. You helped us, you supported us, you were there all along the way, and we couldn't be more grateful and more thankful. You built the region's first cancer center. We still have a lot to do, but 2019 was amazing, and we just want to thank you so much for being there for us and for Michelle's Place. And on behalf of all the patients and families that are dealing with cancer, thank you. It means a lot. So thank you again for your support in 2019. I look forward to working with you in 2020. Happy New Year. I'll see you next year.
Lots of changes being made, like this secret doorway. So much work has been done this past week. The insulation was put up. Are we putting up a wall?
Are you
Yes.
publishing it?
Yes.
Hey, turn it off for a second. I want to ask you a question.
Look at all these walls. All the old stuff. This was all knocked down and things are being rearranged. Stay tuned for more. Updates on the center. Let's see what's going on today. Alrighty. Lots of that. The floors. Framing is being done. Come in. So there's a little sneak peek of what's going on. Feel free to come visit. The center is slowly but surely coming together. This will be Kim's office.
Then we all know what happened in 2020. It slowed everything down just a little bit, but we were operating in the center that whole time when we moved in. We were operating, thank you, at a 2,500 square feet. So we're still serving all of cancer patients, but on the other side of that temporary wall from where construction was. So it took us a little over 3 years to finish, and then last November we finished all 10,000 square feet and opened the entire center to everything that we're doing. It's very exciting. So there it is now. Last year, you can see the numbers. We currently, because we have all 10,000 square feet, we have 51 programs happening 23 times a month. So multiple things happening all over the place, all the time. It's very busy. The best sound we can hear, that we said, like we said when we opened it to everybody, was the amount of noise in the space. I mean, there's laughing and there's crying and there's music and there's, talking, and it's just a great feeling. So we're super proud of it and very excited to be doing what we do. These are just some of the services that we do provide. Again, it's all cancers, and so it varies. And a lot of people asked, how are you going to serve all cancers? How could you possibly know what to say to somebody who has blood cancer, to prostate cancer, to breast cancer, to brain cancer? And the answer is simple. It goes all the way back to what Michelle said, and it's about the person and not about the cancer. So we're not treating cancer. We're not doing research. We're helping the person who's going through it. And all these things are just a little bit of that, listening to them and trying to understand what they're going through, answering questions, empowering them and educating them to make the best choices they can for their treatment. and then just being there for them. So when you walk into Michelle's Place, you're greeted by volunteers. We have 121 volunteers who work at the center. We have 32 facilitators who do all of these classes and facilitate these support groups. And you're met by them. They triage you a little bit. They can help you with a wig or a prosthesis, and then they give you to a patient navigator. And we have 5 patient navigators. 3 of them are Spanish speaking, and they walk you through that. So they sit and listen to what's going on with you. And then we connect you with our community health worker, and she connects you to resources. So we have financial assistance, and we have, I'll move to that one. We have financial assistance, we have transportation to your medical appointments. We have application assistance, so disability, filling out that paperwork can be very daunting, especially when you don't feel good. A variety of things. And what we say is if we don't have it, we'll connect you to someone who does. We have a lot of really great partners in our community and outskirts of our community to help do that. This is one of our biggest programs, our most expensive program, the Purple Ribbon Assistance Program. Used to be called the Pink Ribbon Assistance Program, now it's purple. It encompasses a lot of different things. This is really our financial assistance program because that is a huge need when people are going through cancer. So not only do you get grocery gift cards and the utility assistance, the things I talked about, but like this little munchkin here, she got to go shopping at JCPenney and buy $150 worth of brand new school clothes the day before school. So that's a cool program funded by Stater Brothers Charities. And then Thanksgiving meals, we make sure all of our families have a Thanksgiving meal or the things to make a Thanksgiving meal and a turkey. And then at Christmas, we do the same. Make sure they have food for their families and then gifts for all the kids. Indirect services, again, if we don't have it specifically there, we can facilitate that. That means screening mammograms, other screening things, facilities, that we can facilitate to help you get those services done, and just talking to you about that and your overall health and wellness. These are our fundraisers that we have. We are funded by our fundraisers, private donations, and grants. Those are the 3 ways that we're currently funded. Every single thing at Michelle's Place is free. And like I mentioned, we have amazing volunteer opportunities. We have in-office volunteers, we have health fairs, all of our events, of course, community outreach, and some of the best. That's Lola there, where I'm not going to show you that video, but Lola and Vicky have worked every single Wednesday for 21 years. They're originals, the OG, if you will. Yeah, it's pretty cool. We opened a satellite office just over a year, maybe 2 years ago now, thanks to the Fallbrook Regional Health District. So we have a satellite office. It's open 2 days a week. Right now, and has all the same things that we have at Michelle's Place Temecula, but it's much, much smaller. All of our Fallbrook clients still typically come to Temecula. We're trying to get them to go to the Fallbrook office, but that one will grow as well. And that's all I have. As Randy mentioned, I have given everybody a little packet of information, talks about our classes, all of our programs. I would love for you guys to come and take a tour. Please let me know. Everyone is welcome. We're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 3:30. You don't have to come there just if you have cancer. You're welcome to come and see what we have because you know someone who's going to need us eventually. We want you to be able to send them over so know what they need and what they have. So thank you guys for this opportunity. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So much information. So Adam, you want to go ahead?
A comment and then a question. First off, my family was one of those 129, and we're very grateful for everything that Michelle's Place does, and grateful to all you do because you go well beyond even Michelle's Place as a leader in the community, leader in Rotary, and all that. But the question I have for you now, also my son got to volunteer and was an amazing volunteer. He was a better man for it, let me tell you. But how does one go about either giving their time or their money, or even just a turkey, to Michelle's Place? There's so many ways.
I didn't mention that in the construction as well, this was such a great opportunity for our community. You guys know the community is amazing. I mean, the generosity is beyond. Because we had well over $800,000 in donated products. Lights, insulation, screws, paint, things like that. So there's always something. Everybody has time, talent, or treasure to give. And we're accepting all of those things. So you can donate, obviously, online, michellesplace.org, and come to our events, whatever you're comfortable with. Time, like I said, we have so many volunteer opportunities. We do need we have volunteers that sit the front desk, which isn't okay for everyone. Not everybody has that kind of time in the middle of the day. They work 3.5-hour shifts, and there's 2 shifts a day. We have facilitators. Some of these facilitators have come to us and said, I'm a Reiki master. I want to give my time on Tuesdays for 3 hours and give Reiki. Reiki is one of the most requested resources we have at Michelle's Place. So Reiki, we have 3 Reiki masters that donate their time. So you probably have some sort of amazing talent that we maybe can utilize or our clients might love. So you can think about that. But if you just want to work at events or you want to do community outreach or you just want to hand out turkeys, that's also an opportunity as well. So just reach out to michellesplace.org. We have a volunteer application on there. Regina Cassini is our volunteer coordinator. If you want to donate turkey, if you want to do, we do a food drive through the Rotary Club at Temecula, which is where we get our food boxes for our clients. So that's always an opportunity too. So there's lots of ways. Just reach out and let us figure out how to use you. Thanks, Adam, for that. Anybody else?
Well, thank you for what you do at Michelle's Place.
Thanks,
I had a
sir.
chance to volunteer at Rally.
Yeah.
Had a great time.
Good.
What a great cause, great event, great people, all for a special cause. So I want to thank you for what you do in the city of Temecula and for our citizens. I am one who's, I'm sure everybody else has been touched up here. My grandmother passed from cancer. My mother passed from cancer. And recently I had a friend, close friend who moved to Colorado. His wife had breast cancer, and he has just been diagnosed with breast cancer.
Oh my gosh.
In looking at my mother's experience back in Memphis, there was nothing like what you guys do here, to walk on side of her, other than us, her kids, making sure she's comfortable, making sure we're there for her. But having that support system means a lot, and you don't know until you're going through it how beneficial it is to help you get through it. Yeah, you can hear from your family, but when you're seeing people that have went through it and sharing their stories and having that support system, it means a whole lot. Yeah. So what you guys do it can't be measured by anything. So I just appreciate you for what you do, and thank you for being here today as well. And you have peer support built in, specialists or whatever trained to walk on side of those that are going through. Is that a program that you guys train, or they come there specifically with that?
We train them. So they're lay patient navigators, so they're not medically trained.
Okay. Gotcha.
They're lay trained. We do have mental health support. We don't advertise that because the need is so significant, and we don't have it on a regular basis. So we do have counselors, marriage and family therapists that can see our clients if they need something more than that, right? Because you guys probably know that there's a huge problem in our community with the lack of providers for mental health. So even if you have insurance, you can't get in. Yeah. So we're providing that on site right now too.
Awesome. Yeah, and I know I agree with that on the mental health side, because I'm a veteran and work with the VA, and we're having challenges on that side getting veterans connected to mental health services as well. Right. So a huge lack of that. Are you guys, so what cities, what areas do you cover that, what cities can come in and get that support here?
Anybody.
Anybody from anywhere?
You can call us from Colorado or wherever you are. If you email, call, the one-on-one support, of course, is there for you. The only program that's really geographic, it would be the financial assistance, and that's Riverside, San Bernardino counties. Okay. And North San Diego County as well. We have that, but maybe the screenings, any kind of medical programs that we can hook you up with, that's going to be geographically determined. But otherwise, we're there if you need the one-on-one support. If you need support group, we have a lot of virtual support groups, hybrid support groups. So really anyone is welcome to our services.
Awesome, and it's great to see you have that community support where you can, if you don't have it, you know someone who has it, who can provide that for them, and it's a one-stop shop where they can get all that. So that's always beneficial, particularly when they run into specific things that are outside the preview of some of the things you may have there. So
well, you don't feel good. You don't want to be given a list on a piece of paper to make all these phone calls. So if we can eliminate as many phone calls or as much work as they have to do, that's ideal.
That's awesome. And in the federal government area, we have the combined federal campaign every year where, you go and you get this list of organizations and we contribute money to. Are you guys on that list, or have you?
I don't think so.
Glad to get on that list. So these are all organizations that provide support, and there are cancer research areas on there so it may be worth looking into. I don't know how you get on there, but I know we get a book, and it has all these organizations you can donate to, and then you choose one of your choice, and then and it's an annual direct deposit going directly to them. So
Yeah.
let's bring it up as another avenue to
Okay.
try to get some, support as well. So definitely we'll be taking you up on your visit. And hopefully look to
please.
volunteer over there as well.
be
So
great.
to help out whatever I can do. But thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Commissioner Faulkner. Commissioner Electors?
Thank you. And first, my apologies for coming in midway through your presentation. I'm sorry I was late. I was coming from the airport in San Diego. I echo my fellow commissioners. Thank you so much for the work that you do in the community. Thank you for the presentation and sharing with us. Remarkable, just remarkable and fabulous. I too was at the rally in the Valley, only I was on one of the teams. So next year I'll be volunteering. I should have talked to Commissioner Faulkner first. I was really pleased to hear, as we're focused obviously here on equity and diversity, the multilingual options, opportunities or resources that you have. And I may have missed it, but do you have intentional outreach to the community and specifically to disadvantaged or communities of color in this area?
We do. A big part of our mission is education and talking about early detection, especially this month. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so we spend a lot of time talking about, and targeting groups that don't have access is important. Right now we have the ability to give them the access to get to where they need to go. So absolutely reaching migrant farm workers, the African American community is at huge risk because their death rates are much higher than any other group. So talking to them about that. A lot of cultural barriers around healthcare, right? And so understanding what those are and then trying to reach those groups in the way that they need to be accessed. And so it's tricky, of course, but we do intentionally go out and try to reach those communities.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Kim.
Okay, thanks.
You're
guys.
not done yet.
Oh.
Congratulations on your expansion. I
Thanks.
remember when it was just the bare walls and you guys
I
were
know.
freezing to death in
Freezing
there.
to death.
It was
I know.
crazy. But
I
you've
know.
come a long way, and I'm really, really proud of you guys as an
Thank you.
organization. It seemed like an impossibility, but you made it possible,
yeah.
and you made us all really proud.
Thank you.
Our nonprofits here in the Valley are the backbone of our community, and we all know this, and we know how important they are. So the work you do is just immeasurable. As you say, you've helped 1,792 clients to date, so that's just amazing. And the fact that you've branched out into other cancers is just so wonderful for our community. Do you do any kind of demographics on the people that come in to utilize your services?
Oh, we do.
Okay, that's really good information.
It depends. Well, obviously, we're very grant-based, and so
Right.
we are required to collect a lot of that information. So we do have a variety of demographics. It's typically broken up into programs, right? Our outreach is one that we count. The financial assistance is another. It's typically a demographic of income-based, age, of course, ethnicity, not so much. It always bothered us a little bit, to be honest, because it doesn't matter, if
Right.
you will. You know what I mean? So it was everybody who came to us, who needs us, we are there to help, and we're going out and specifically trying to reach those people. So we just recently started tracking that because it's something that our grantors want to know as well. So we just started doing that, and we don't have a lot of information on that yet. But age-specific is a big one as well, because there's trending numbers in the different kinds of cancers, and the needs are different based on their age as well. So we do have some demographics, yes.
Okay, great. I love that. And I know, go back to your point, everybody just needs the help, so it's hard to
Yeah.
track by demographic. But that demographic data is also very, very important, because if statistics are high in the community of color, that they're passing away from cancer, and we're not grabbing enough people to give them the help that they need,
Right.
then that's definitely an issue. So that data is very, very important. We have had many, many conversations here about underrepresented community members. So the fact that your organization is helping people that really need that help is huge for us. And I want you to know, as a REDI Commission, that you are definitely top of mind for us.
Thank you.
And if you need anything from us, I know that you have definitely been involved in the DEI space, but if you need anything from the REDI Commission, we're always here for you.
Great.
And it's been an absolute pleasure hearing from you tonight. It's been
Thank
wonderful.
you. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Got to save round, as we say in the military. So you brought up something, and Commissioner Leckers brought it up in regards to the some of the barriers within in some of our communities. And just wanted to see, so, one of the things that you brought up was doctors, as you talked about the story of how Michelle's Place talked about, and the doctors were telling her that everything's okay, don't worry about it.
Right.
How do we teach our residents and citizens to let them know sometimes they have to take over and take control of their healthcare and push the issue, and with their providers, because those providers work for them. I mean,
They do,
and that's a
right.
responsibility for them to actually follow through
Right.
and work it up to make sure to catch something early versus later on.
Absolutely.
So it's scary to know that you still have that going on, and people are dying from it. That providers are not taking it serious when someone comes in with a lump. My friend as well. It was a couple of days when I talked to him. Said, "Hey man," he said, "I felt it 3 days." Well, the first day you felt the lump, you should have went in. Don't take it and continue to push. Like, oh, it's nothing, it's just a musculoskeletal thing, and I
Right.
can get over it. Have them evaluated, push the issue, and make them do their work, do the job they're called to. I know some of that is health insurance as well.
Yeah,
The concern
that's the
with
problem.
having health insurance and not being able to pay the bills prevents a lot of people from going in and seeking health care as well. So how do we just continue to push that issue in our training, education, specifically to underserved communities, to say you have got to get in when you find something. Your
You do.
self-examinations is important. I do mine as well.
Good,
At chest and everywhere else to see if there's
Yeah.
anything abnormal, and if it is,
Yeah.
I'm going in. So
Good. Share that message.
So thank you for that. I just wanted to
Yeah.
bring that forward.
Right. Unfortunately, insurance deems a lot of our health care these days, and doctors also don't have a lot of time because they're overwhelmed. So our message is always be your own best advocate for your health. Whether it's breast or anything else, anything that feels weird, looks different, you're not comfortable with, you need to go and have checked out. It's just, and push until you get there. Yeah. Okay.
Kim, we have I just wanted to make sure that we touch on kind of our reboot 2.0 that we're trying to do. So commissioners, with respect to obviously the REDI perspective, you can hear that in addition to providing free services and programs to all clients regardless of socioeconomic status, whether it's Spanish-speaking support groups or multi-shade prosthesis, Michelle's Place has been irrespective of whether they have been calling it out as inclusion or equity, they have been actively practicing DEI for a very long time. And Ms. Garish and I had a great conversation a little while ago about how grant funders are also now asking nonprofits specifically for their mission statement, for their value statement, so that they can adjust their grant awards, points, all of those things to match up with those DEI practices. And I know you are definitely on top of that, Ms. Garish. We did have a cancer task force a while ago, and it completed its charge, came out with a cancer resource booklet, and while we're not necessarily revitalizing the task force, we are, as a city, facilitating a discussion around the need for healthcare professionals and cancer healthcare professionals, among others. So, Kim, can you talk a little bit about that, just to put it on their radar?
Yep. So I was part of that cancer task force, and unfortunately, resources are not that much better than they were when we started. And it really sparked my interest again for advocacy for cancer patients, because a longtime breast cancer surgeon, the only breast cancer surgeon in our community, left after 12 years of practice because she doesn't have the resources she needs to care for her patients adequately, in her opinion. And so it's incredibly infuriating to me that we had someone who's at the very top of the breast cancer, knowledge and care and love for her patients, to leave because she doesn't have adequate imaging. She doesn't have a plastic surgeon to work with. If you have a mastectomy and you want to have reconstruction at the same time, it's a 4-month wait right now. That's absolutely asinine in this community. And that's just one example. So I talked to our mayor, and he agreed to come together, and we brought the decision makers of our local medical hospitals and providers and practices. It's it's just not financially something that they feel is something to pursue at this time. We don't have another hour for me to go into all the details of that, but at the end of the day, they're not building a cancer center, and the need for physicians, and because of COVID as well, side note, right, we're lacking nurses. We're lacking every level of medical practice, but we have no cancer care that is comprehensive. People still drive to San Diego or Orange County. Just a very loose poll in my organization with the amount of cancer patients, which by the way has now almost doubled. We used to see 35 to 39 brand new cancer patients a month. We're up to 65 and 70 brand new cancer patients a month on top of our regulars that come in. Why is there so much more cancer? Is it just growth? Is it, what is it? I don't know. Is it because they know about us now? And I will tell you, of all of them, a fair estimate would be at least 82% of them are traveling outside of our community to get cancer care. And that's just unacceptable. So that's why, again, the mayor and I came together and we brought those people into the room. And when we saw no movement and no real work towards bringing in physicians, we realized that wasn't really the path to go down. So a great new path that we're going down is the economic development agencies of our community. Let's talk to them about bringing, let's talk to other San Diego and Orange County entities, Scripps, UCSD, City of Hope, the big ones that know what they're doing and how to do it. Why wouldn't they want to come here? The people are here, right? The need is here. Could they look at it as a business deal, really, and see if it's something that they could start doing here? And so our Temecula's Christine put together a beautiful program to really see what the feasibility of that is. I forget the name of that program that they use to measure that, but she put a really comprehensive program together to see what that looks like, the feasibility. And it all came out really good. And so we got together with Marietta and Scott Arjanian over there, and then Connie Stouffer, our Economic Development Coalition Executive Director. And the three of them have started talking, and they're bringing in the other cities to approach some of these organizations, some of these businesses, and see, hey, are you guys interested? Could you? Because the reality is you're not going to bring a breast surgeon of that caliber to work here unless she has the tools she needs to take care of her patients. And that's any oncology, surgical unit, nurse, doctor, whatever, isn't going to come here unless they have the state-of-the-art something, if they don't have comprehensive care for their patients. So we figured, let's start there. So that's where the conversation is now. It's off in the EDC, which is fantastic, and they're keeping me apprised of that, and we'll see where it goes. But the reality is we need to attract those professionals here, and the only way to do that, really, we have a beautiful place to live. But we got to have the tools for them.
So, Randy, so you said it's going to San Diego, going to Orange, and nothing in between. Southwest Riverside County the cities have not come together to embrace this, to have some type of cancer research center in the Southwest Riverside County?
We have a lot of infusion centers, but the reason we have infusion is because it's pharmaceutical. So you can get chemotherapy here. You can get standard of care. I'm not saying we don't have anything, because there's oncologists. There's some great oncologists here, and there's a huge lacking of surgeons, surgical oncologists. There's, it's hard to get into your primary care.
Yeah.
If you try to get into your primary care today, it's impossible.
30 days or more. So
the process, it takes a very long time, and there's just not enough of them to take care of the need. You can go to UCSD, and in one day, you have all of your things. You go down there and meet them. You get all of your testing done. You can get a biopsy at the same time and be scheduled for treatment in one day. Why would you come here?
So that's why I wanted Ms. Garish to kind of touch on that, because as you can see, she is a very passionate advocate for her clients here in this region. So, and in the city is definitely from every single angle we can, here to support her and here to support our residents who need these services, and we definitely look forward to Kim, you just doing what you need to do, and us supporting you and making sure that we're able to help our residents and our regional neighbors as well.
Of course, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Guys.
We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate
Thank you
it.
so much.
Thanks for everything.
Of course.
Wonderful. And we move on now to public comments. Any public comments, Erica?
No, we do not.
Okay. Great. So we have a quorum. We can go ahead and approve the action minutes of August 11th. I can have a motion,
Motion approved minutes?
a second?
Okay, I got a motion from Commissioner Faulkner and a second from Commissioner Lecters. I'll take the roll call vote. Commissioner Evantop? Commissioner Faulkner?
Aye.
Commissioner Lecters?
Aye.
And Vice Chair Steed.
Aye.
Great, thank you.
Great, and then we're going to go ahead and move on to the business of tonight, and we're going to receive, correct? A presentation on the draft of the Quality of Life Master Plan.
Yes, Vice Chair Steed. Once again, the QLMP is before you, but it is most likely the very last time it will be before you, as the next stop after all of the commissions will be City Council approval. So this is something that we've obviously been actively working on with Matt Peters and our consultant Doug and others, and we're going to go ahead and receive the presentation on the final draft Quality of Life Master Plan. And at this point, while they will be open to receiving any sort of comments and go ahead and take those comments back to council and their presentation to council, which we expect on November 15th, we're really looking for feedback on broader concepts that maybe have been missed in any way, versus there will be additional grammatical, corrections and things like that. So it's just big ticket items if you have any. With that, Matt, it's all yours.
Thank you for that introduction. Good evening, Madam Vice Chair, Commissioners, staff. I'm Matt Peters, as Randy mentioned, with the Planning Department, and this is Doug Svensson, our consultant from Applied Development Economics, who helped us draft the QLMP, or the Quality of Life Master Plan. So the agenda tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to describe the QLMP update and how it's used by the city. We'll describe our public input and the community engagement efforts. We'll go over the draft vision statement, and then I'll turn it over to Doug, who will talk about the overview of the QLMP and the Citizens 20-Year Priorities Timeline. And then we'll talk about next steps. There aren't many steps left. As Randy mentioned, this is the last time we'll be before the REDI Commission. We're anxious to get your comments. We'll incorporate those into a staff report that will go to the City Council. And the only commission that is left to go to after tonight is the Planning Commission next week. So what is the QLMP? It's the Quality of Life Master Plan. It's a broad level visionary document, and it identifies the city's core values, which comprise or make up quality of life. And it's also used in the city's budgeting process. So projects or programs in the annual operating budget or the CIP, the capital improvement projects, must be justified in terms of how it helps to achieve the goals and objectives in each core value. So I've been with the city for a number of years now, worked on the budget with different departments, Public Works, TCSD. If you propose anything in the budget, one of the first things you have to do is describe how it is consistent with the core value and the goals and objectives. The templates are set up that way, so for it to even get in the budget, you have to be familiar with this document and know what's in it. And here's a graphic that just describes the core values. We have a safe and prepared community, transportation, mobility, and connectivity, healthy and livable city, economic prosperity, sustainable and resilient city, accountable and responsive city government, and equity. So those 7 core values and the overlapping rings make up the quality of life. And on Monday, I got a question about whether or not these are in rank order or alphabetical order, and the response to that is they're all given equal weight, and they all make up quality of life. So this graphic, I think I've showed this to you before. I won't go into all the details. There's a lot on this graphic. But essentially, the Quality of Life Master Plan update is the foundation for an update to the general plan. So the graphic before you identifies 4 distinct phases for updating the general plan, and we're at the end of phase 2, which the major work task in phase 2 is the Quality of Life Master Plan. We'll move into phase 3, And in 2023, by the fall, we expect to go out with a request for proposals or an RFP to hire the consultant to prepare the general plan. As for community engagement, the first thing we did before we even started it was the beginning of the process, was the survey. We hired True North Research and did a community survey. That survey was statistically valid with an overall margin of error plus or minus 3.2%. And it's basically the City of Temecula's report card on facilities and programs, traffic, economic development, and parks and recreation. And overall resident satisfaction is high and city government is viewed positively. As for a few opportunity areas, those include traffic, residential growth, homelessness, and city resident communication. And all of those results were used to inform the Blue Ribbon Committee and the Qlmp update process. So as we went through the core values, we always presented what did the community say, and that feedback went into the crafting of the goals and objectives and some of the value statements. And as for who worked on the Quality of Life Master Plan, there were a number of people who worked on this, but the City Council established a BRC, or a Blue Ribbon Committee. That was done on April 19th, 2021. And what they wanted to do was establish a group that represented a diverse group of stakeholders representing a variety of interests. And also on the Blue Ribbon Committee, that was made up of the General Plan Update Subcommittee, which is Mayor Ron and Councilmember Edwards, and then representatives from the commission and boards. And your representative from the REDI Commission was Commissioner Faulkner. I think we started with Commissioner Wilson, and then you took over shortly thereafter, the beginning of the process. We were very happy to have Commissioner Faulkner be part of the process. And then we had a large group of community representatives. I won't read them all, you can see them up there, but it was definitely a good cross-section of the community, from the CEO from the Temecula Valley Hospital to representatives from Habitat for Humanity, the Sierra Club, local business owners, different churches, nonprofits. It was definitely a good cross-section that was established by the City Council. As for our noticed public meetings and workshops, we had 19 total and 4 public workshops. We had 2 City Council workshops, 10 commission meetings. I think this is the 3rd time I've been to a REDI commission. And we had 2 with each of the different commissions, 1 in May, 1 in November. That includes REDI Commission, Planning Commission, Community Services Commission, and Public Traffic Safety Commission. And then we had 7 BRC meetings and 2 virtual workshops online. Also, as part of our community outreach, we had 4 pop-up events on Saturdays. We were at the Farmers Market in Old Town. That was our first one. Then we were at the Summers Bend Sports Park grand opening. We were at the Special Games, which occurred at Great Oak High School. And then most recently, we were at Culture Fest, which occurred in Old Town. And we received a lot of good feedback from the community. Just a good opportunity to meet with residents, get their feedback. One of the things we asked them was, what do you love about Temecula? And sometimes people filled out 5 or 6 sheets, and then we always presented that information back to the BRC. In addition to the True North survey, we also did a survey that was specific to the Quality of Life Master Plan process. So we asked very specific questions about the core values, the goals and objectives, and I think the outreach for that was probably 3 or 4 months, and we received over 800 responses to that survey. We also did a lot of outreach through social media. We did branding and social media. You can see the Temecula Qlmp Master Plan logo there. And then these are some statistics from our Public Information Office, which is housed in the City Manager's office. And through all of our research on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, we got 473 likes, 41 comments, 82 shares, and nearly 50,000 impressions. That may mean more to some people than others, but I've been told it's fantastic. Those statistics are fantastic. Also, with regard to our outreach, we are on Channel 3 before every City Council meeting throughout this process, advertising for the survey. And then in addition, we're on the homepage of the city's website, We're also on the homepage of the city app. I'm sure all of you have the city app. If you don't, download it, it's free, and the Quality of Life Master Plan is right there. With all of that, that was all linked to a specific website, or I guess website or homepage dedicated to the Qlmp process. So you could go to that page, you could see the 2030 document, all of the BRC meetings were recorded, and you could, if you couldn't make the meeting, you could definitely watch them. The community survey results were on there. There was a feedback button, and you could also sign up for email notifications. Other Qlmp outreach, we emailed or hand-delivered flyers to the affordable housing complex managers. I work in the long-range department. We do inspections of all of the affordable housing complexes. We know the managers there, so we gave them flyers to hand out to their residents to hopefully fill out the surveys. We also gave information to nonprofit organizations. And then the survey was available at the Mary Phillips Senior Center, and we put up advertisements on the bulletin boards at a lot of the coffee shops that had a QR code. So if you went in there with your smartphone, you could use the QR code and go to the survey. And then we made up little business cards, put those in the mailboxes for all of the city council members. So if they got questions about this from constituents, they could just hand out the card, all the information was there. And then whenever we did the survey, paper surveys were always made available upon request. In addition to all of that, we did the True North survey, the Qlmp survey. What we found when we gathered the results from the Qlmp survey was we were missing a demographic, and that was the youth and young adult survey. They're just not going to fill out that survey. So we kind of missed them. So we made a concerted effort to reach out to them. We crafted a new survey. We worked with the school district to get it in front of them. We worked with the Youth Advisory Committee through the Community Services District. We held a roundtable discussion that was facilitated by MIG, another one of our partner consultants. And we engaged the youth and young adult to get their feedback. They gave us a lot of good feedback, which is incorporated into the document. And then in addition, that survey was shared with the DEI coordinator at TVUSD. I worked with Randy to send that survey out, and that was pushed out to all the different student organizations, and that helped us get our numbers up with the youth and young adult survey. And if all of that wasn't enough, we advertised on the Automall sign, and it was on a 30-second rotation for a number of months. And I asked specifically because I figured I'd get this question, how many cars are on that freeway every day? And it's 166,000 cars per day. So we're very proud of the community outreach that we've done. There are people who are going to say, you could have done more, maybe we could have, but we're at the end, and all of these meetings are public, and the last stop is going to be the City Council in November. And just one last part of the presentation for my section, the draft vision statement. How do we get that? So we received a lot of input from the BRC members. There were some definite themes that came out of their feedback, focusing on innovation, family, and home, and then this small town character, small town feel. And we just couldn't quite get to a vision statement. And so what we did was we had some of our staff take a look at, well, what could be the foundation for the vision statement in addition to what the BRC gave us? So we looked at our seal and the messaging in there of old traditions, new opportunities. And then these chambers are named after former council member Jeff Comachero. And he had a saying of, you never regret doing things right. I remember it being, you never regret doing things right the first time. And then there's this thing we call the Temecula Way, which my definition means just doing it right, which is how we do things, right, Randy? We do them right the first time. So what came out of that was the vision statement, which is, with a deep understanding of our history, the city of Temecula is a community and culture on the move. We're dedicated to family, neighborhoods, economic prosperity, education, health, and safety. Focused on doing it right the first time, we continue to pursue the highest quality of life for all, something we call the Temecula Way. And with that, I'll turn it over to Doug, and he'll discuss the key themes in the QLMP.
Thank you, Matt. Madam Vice Chair, members of the Commission, it's a pleasure to be with you this evening. As Matt mentioned, I'd like to highlight some of the key themes that emerged in this update of the QLMP, make it a little different than the previous version. First of all, safety is the #1 attribute of the community that came through in all the survey research that we conducted, and so it's a major element of the core values throughout the document. In this edition, there's a lot of emphasis on expanding community policing in particular, and maximizing community participation and leadership in public safety, as well as making sure that resources are dedicated to maintaining the highest level of safety throughout the community. There's also a strong emphasis, which is new, on emergency response planning and management. And so the need to create an emergency response master plan, which includes several different elements, including an evacuation plan, and also the idea of expanding the programs to train citizens to be able to respond on their own when disasters and situations occur. So there are several different programs that the city uses to train people not only in first aid, but in neighborhood organization and planning, and working with the fire department directly to be able to respond when and help public safety officials when disasters occur. Also, there's some particular projects that the fire department is underway with in terms of improving fire stations and in particular training for their personnel. And so there are several expansions of fire stations that involve training facilities. Also, the economy, local jobs, and in particular career technical education. And this feeds in a lot to the next theme, which has to do with youth and young people. There's a focus in economic development on creating an entrepreneurial atmosphere of promoting small business development. Many of the folks that responded to the surveys highlighted the prevalence of local independent businesses as a major attribute of the small town quality and feel that they have in Temecula, and so that's a major focus of the economic development program. But in particular, trying to create a broader program and actually a center to bring young people along from junior high to high school through the community college and CSU San Marcos to have a coordinated track for career technical education, particularly focused on jobs that exist here in Temecula. And so that was a major interest that the Blue Ribbon Committee in particular discussed during their meetings. This is reinforced in other core values in transportation, promoting job growth in Temecula and nearby areas to reduce out-commuting, and in the equity core value, fostering a healthy environment and prosperous opportunities for all residents in the community. I mentioned youth opportunities and services was a major focus of the discussion for the Blue Ribbon Committee. Under the Safe and Prepared Community core value, providing recreational and other activities for youth, as well as the Health and Livable City to provide lots of recreation opportunities for sports and other kinds of community engagement activities. In particular, integrating the teen facilities into the expansion of the Community Recreation Center, and reinforced again in economic prosperity through the Career Technical Education Center, and expanding youth in government as part of the equity core value. So those are all elements of trying to support youth as they grow and engage over the long term with the community and the economy. Resiliency, this is something we're all very much aware of as we see disasters occurring around the state, around the country, needing to be better prepared and trying to prevent things occurring here in Temecula to the extent that we can. And so resiliency has been added to the sustainability core value as a major element of that. Developing community resiliency in infrastructure, the economy, natural resources, and also hazard mitigation. So trying to be as comprehensive as possible. Clearly that comes through in the safe and prepared community core value in terms of minimizing impact to life and property and the environment from natural hazards and disasters that occur. But also through transportation, increasing mobility options to increase flexibility, and also accountable and responsive city government, maintaining a flexible organization to be able to respond to unknown disasters as they occur. We don't always know what's going to happen to us. And so following on with environmental quality, a goal has been added to create a climate action plan as part of the general plan update. We've also added an indicator for air quality. This is again something that people discussed a lot in the survey input and in the Blue Ribbon Committee. Air and water quality are extremely important. So now we've made sure we've got metrics there to measure our progress in all those areas. But also looking in a broader way about other planning efforts that can occur in addition to the general plan directly, but things like a stormwater management plan, greenway planning to integrate the trail system with the creeks and water system management so that all of those things work together to not only improve environmental quality, but improve resiliency and also provide recreational opportunities. That's reflected in the transportation core value by a focus on building out the trail system throughout the community for pedestrians, bicycles, and creating a higher level of bicycle friendliness throughout the community. And then finally, in economic prosperity, there's a goal that focuses directly on the value of a quality environment in terms of quality of life and what makes it a great place to have a business as well as to live. Along those lines, we discussed that it's important not only for the city to work on these issues, but to create a regional approach in many cases. So Temecula is part of a region here in southwest Riverside County and close by northern San Diego County. A lot of the traffic that you experience is just a result of your location in the highway system. And so can we work with the two counties as well as the other communities to see what solutions there might be to address those issues directly. But also, as I mentioned, the stormwater plan, the integrated watershed management plan, those are all things that can be handled on a multi-jurisdictional level to be more productive and effective. Technology is a big theme in Temecula. City government prides itself on being cutting edge, and so there are a number of strategic initiatives here to elevate the level of technology adoption and efficiency that comes along with that, including adopting paperless technology throughout city government, installing smart city technology, kind of the Internet of Things to help provide, city services directly, and also building out the fiber optic network, which not only benefits city government directly, but residents and businesses that are here. And again, carrying that through to transportation, implementing neighborhood electric vehicle system to make that transition to the future more efficient. Housing, major discussion item throughout the entire Blue Ribbon Committee process, and the city has recently adopted a new housing element that will help with a lot of programs and has set goals for the city to achieve. In particular, we're trying to focus on the concept of attainable housing, which is affordable to people who work here at all levels of the economic spectrum. And so a lot of the goals and programs are focused on achieving that. And we've integrated that in the equity core value as well as economic prosperity and health. And then finally, the equity core value, which, as your commission will recall, we were able to have a couple discussions with your commission about the details of this core value, and you helped us craft the 4 goals, which relate to fair and equitable treatment for all human beings, fostering a healthy environment and prosperous opportunities, extensive communication and outreach between the city and its residents and among residents, and dedicating the resources necessary to implement all of these goals. Future strategic objectives include creating a dashboard of REDI information, statistics, and I might mention that the entire Qlmp is going to become a dashboard on the city's website so that residents can track progress on all the indicators throughout the document, but particular indicators related to diversity and equality, as well as completing the implementation of the REDI initiative and continued advocacy of underrepresented groups throughout the community. So those are the major themes that kind of drove this update. We also updated all of the projects that the city specifically wants to try to achieve, and these are kind of broad time frames that we're hoping to complete these projects. A lot of them are being started as we speak, but will take a number of years to really complete. But in terms of the near-term time frame over the next 3 years, implementing comprehensive community policing strategy, our quality of life team is one of the key projects. There are a number of transportation improvements included, but also completing the broadband master plan, building out the new Margarita Recreation Center with intergenerational programming, and developing a digital dashboard and the Career Technical Education Center are among the highlights of programs that are underway in the short term. Whoops, sorry, I didn't mean to switch just yet. In the medium term, some of the things like the general plan update, which as Matt mentioned, is going to begin soon, but will take several years to complete. The stormwater master plan, some of the other major transportation improvements, the emergency management master plan, climate action plan, and some of the private sector major projects that we're aware of, such as the expansion of the Temecula Valley Hospital, which is going to include a behavioral health program that doesn't currently exist. And then finally, over the longer term, some of the bigger items that will take more community planning and funding, such as a performing arts center, aquatics facility with an Olympic pool, wildlife crossing over the freeway, and some of the bigger transportation improvements such as the Western Bypass Corridor. So there's short, medium, and long term to this, but they're all things that the city's going to be working on over the next 15 to 20 years. I will note that one of the reasons we're updating the Qlmp now is that the city was ahead of schedule in achieving its 20-year projects from the 2010 plan. So we expect, that record will be continued and the city will move forward pretty quickly on a lot of these projects. So as mentioned, we have the Planning Commission next week and then are expecting to go to council in November, and we'll look forward to taking all of your comments to that meeting to share with the council. So we appreciate your time this evening. Look forward to your questions or comments on the document at this time. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. That was a lot of information. So I know you guys have worked really, really hard on that. We appreciate it. So some comments? Commissioner Lecter?
Yeah, I can start. Yes, amazing, a really beautiful piece of work. Matt, there was one slide that you showed that had the values, and I thought it was on one of the public-facing, either the website or something, but as you were flipping away from it, it looked like the equity value wasn't included in that. So I want to make sure that wasn't something that was public-facing. There it is. No, it wasn't that one. It was something that was on like one of the websites, one of the public-facing things that you had put in later in your presentation. I could have, it went by really fast, so I could have totally missed it, but I just wanted to make sure that that was.
Oh, yeah, this slide.
Doing its thing.
I tend to have technical difficulties using technology.
He's running.
While
I'm
IT
sure it's something I did.
Yeah, while IT is coming up, it
Oh,
may
yeah.
be, there it is.
There it is.
Yes.
The old one.
Sorry, Chris.
So this is old?
This is an early graphic that was the original,
Right.
based on the original core values. Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out.
Okay, so if that could change, if it before,
Yeah.
is that live on the website now?
It's actually not.
Okay.
It's an older slide that was used in probably some of the first BRC meetings.
Got it.
And it is important to note, like, at this point, these are our existing core values. So it would be somewhat presumptuous for us to add equity on this as well, because council has not approved it as of yet. So this was for the survey, so it's quite possible that, because I vaguely remember that discussion, these were the existing core values at the time that we were asking people to go ahead and provide commentary on.
So
Yeah,
then-
that's
then-
correct. Thank you, Randy.
Then this wouldn't change until the council approves the
Correct.
current plan. Okay, got it.
Correct.
Thank you for that. I saw it go by and I was like, wait, something's missing. I don't have a lot of things to add. The one thing that I would say is reading the vision statement. There were two things that jumped out at me. And it's for consideration, inviting to consider. I mean, it's not a deal breaker by any means. The points you made about doing it right the first time, as someone who's involved in systems transformation in many aspects, one of the things that gets in the way of transformation is assuming that we did it right the first time and getting stuck in the way things have always been. So I'm sure that that's not what was meant by this. So I'm not sure, I guess I'm processing as I'm talking with you about this. I don't want us to get locked into to assuming that we actually do get it right the first time, because that gets us locked into things that we then have a hard time going back and fixing. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to
It
anybody
does.
else?
We're not perfect.
No, I get it.
Not in terms of that vision statement, but I mean, in general, in terms of the statement, we try to do it right the first time,
Right.
but I think you're right. If we get it wrong, we have to acknowledge it and try to do it differently. So I understand what you're saying.
Okay. Well, that just jumped out at me, so
Yeah.
there's nothing really to do with it.
Commissioner Lyman's, I really appreciated your
Yeah.
comment there. From a context perspective, because Commissioner Lyman's is relatively new to the community, that's a really helpful perspective.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we assume that we understand what terms mean because some understand what those terms mean. And so that's really helpful. The intent of the statement, the way former council member Jeff Comachero always said it was, the intent was to take your time, include everybody, do all your research, do everything you need to do before you just go ahead and jump into something.
Got it.
So that was kind of the background, but I think it's helpful to see it from a new resident's eyes on what that could look like.
Thanks. The other thing is that I'm wondering if there could be a word added that really gets to our equity value. I mean, it is, the things are included in there. You know, that we're talking about highest quality of life for all. I think it could be stronger. That, and I don't know what word that is. I don't think it is actually the word equity, but something about belonging, something about welcoming, something that strengthens that statement, aligning with our equity core value. And those are the only comments I have at this time. Thank you.
Commissioner
Thank you.
Lyman, would capitalizing the word all achieve the type of intent that perhaps you are looking for?
That was emphasis. Yeah, if there was some emphasis, that might work.
Okay, just another consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Or because all is so general, to maybe say every individual or everyone.
You're beginning to experience my challenge.
I think we've noted the intent.
Yes,
It's just
yes.
we
Yeah, the
need
intent is there.
emphasis.
The intent is there.
Yeah.
I'm hypersensitive to the era of polarity that we're in right now.
Yeah.
Hypersensitive to that, and so clarity is, for me, is really key. And equity is not something that people really either understand or buy into, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that was one of the questions I had too. I forgot this question, sorry. Did you get pushback from any of the surveys or community conversations you had on this notion of equity? And how that showed up, so.
You know, Commissioner Faulkner, maybe you could speak to that. We did have one BRC meeting that was dedicated to equity, and overall, what was approved by the REDI Commission and presented at the Blue Ribbon Committee was, we had very good conversation. There was acceptance. I mean, nothing changed, but there were some comments, and maybe you could speak to those.
Yeah. And before I will speak to that, but I want to go ahead and use my time now to say you and Doug have done an amazing job. And being a part of the BRC and being able to sit back and experience how this Qlmp is put together with engaging the community, engaging all aspects of the organizations that support our citizens here, making sure the commissioners were a part of this to provide feedback. For me, and the first time being on something like this, it was amazing to just sit back and engage and be involved in the process of making sure this quality of life master plan was going to be a standard that's going to be, used to uphold how we function and how we look as a city. So, first of all, I want to kudos on everything you did. All people are not going to be, happy and feel like they haven't been engaged in the process. But I think, from my perspective, using social media, getting everybody engaged, you guys have done as much as you can do to get as much information as you can to make a good decision and put a good product forward. So just kudos on that.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, so now on the discussion, as a part of the BRC, and I want to thank Chair Wilson for delegating that responsibility to me when she took over as chair to give me an opportunity to be a part of it. So there was a discussion when we got to the equity value, and one of the things we had to do is sit down and really break out the definition of what it means, because we had some that sat there wanted to say, why not equality? Why not, why are we focusing on equity? What's the difference on the two? And really just working to break out that and letting them know why they stand out differently from one another in regards to their thought process. So there was a detailed conversation around that, and I think we got it home. I wouldn't say everybody may have been happy in understanding that and really wanted to be called something else, but a majority of the people in the room in the BRC understood it, understood where we were going with it, and bought into the process. So we knew when we got to this core value that we were going to be having to spend a little bit more time, because everyone's not bought in. And as you already know, when you talk about equity, there's always detail and more elaborate discussions around what that means. How do we define it? and how do we, enforce it, and to make sure that it's at the forefront, particularly our leaders here in the city. So there were some discussions around that, but I think we got over those hurdles to get them to understand the difference between the two and focus back on the equity core values. So, but there was some, and I think that's a good reason why, we saved that one. So, because they have those discussions. So, yeah.
I think it was also really important, Commissioner Faulkner, as you'll remember, we started that session out very intentionally educating the BRC with the history of the REDI initiative and how this equity core value is a directive from City Council and how that directive came about. And who was charged with drafting the equity core value and why. So we did a really good job at making sure that everybody understood the foundational premise around why we were having the conversation. And I think that really helped because they understood that it came from the three-phased REDI initiative and the council adopted resolution and so on and so forth.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think it was brilliantly set up where, I think, Randy, you came in and spoke, and then right after that, I got up and spoke to really lay the groundwork and the foundation in regards to having a conversation. I think it lightened the rooms to where we can have great back and forth banter between those who had some reservations and those, such as myself, who this is what we need to do. So, and we all know, when you got differences of opinion, that's a great thing because out of that becomes a spark to where we can actually lay the foundation for what we're trying to do with equity. So, so those are some good conversations, but I think just like you're saying, Randy, we laid the foundation and really having that conversation at the beginning really opened up the space to have a good dialogue and come up with our equity value for this first iteration, right? This is the first time we're doing this. It's because once it goes up, it gets approved. The foundation is there, and maybe in years to come, it can be expanded on as we work through this first evolution once it's approved. But I think this is a good starting point for us since this is the first time the equity value state will be hopefully voted in as a part of the quality master plan. So I just again echo, great job, and it was a pleasure working with you guys and being a part of the BRC. So.
Thank you. And I think this feedback is great for us because we're going to be going to the Planning Commission and then the City Council. And I think as we fine tune the presentation, we get to City Council, there needs to be a little more background as to the equity core value and its inclusion in the final presentation. So we have that. We just didn't include it here. But thank you for bringing that up. I do think that's going to be necessary when we get to City Council.
That's going to be really important. And at the discussion we had with the BRC, after we did the education and Commissioner Faulkner made his comments, Mayor Ron and Councilmember Edwards, who were a part of the original REDI initiative adoption process and direction process, also chimed in with their comments as well for the benefit of the full BRC. So, because they were the subcommittee assigned to the BRC. So I think that holistic picture helped with the understanding.
Yeah, I was at that meeting. It was an amazing opportunity to have healthy debate on that question. So I guess the second part of my question is, was there any other kind of pushback from the community as you were doing the surveys or out in the community talking to people? Because I can just see in certain parts of anywhere, the country, the state, whatever, having this conversation, there could be some conflict. So that's why I just want to make sure that we do our best to double down on it and be clear about it. I thought that conversation that Randy and Commissioner Faulkner just described was exactly the kind of debate and exactly the kind of foundation that needs to be included to get to that clarity.
So when we did all of the Saturday pop-up events, it literally never came up. Never came up.
It has come up in City Council meetings, though.
Yeah.
That's just since the beginning of the REDI initiative, it has definitely shown itself in public meetings and in public comments. So just because it might not have shown itself in the specific outreach that Matt reviewed earlier, it has absolutely shown itself, over the last few years, and the OG commissioners can attest to that as well. So I think, we may or may not have those opinions voiced at the city council meeting at which the council members discuss this and approve this. At the end of the day, it really is up to the majority of the city council if they wish to have an equity core value or if they don't wish to have an equity core value. And the residents can go ahead and form their opinions, but at the end of the day, they are the decision makers.
Yeah, and when we did the supplemental survey to the True North survey specific for the Quality of Life Master Plan, there were opportunities to provide written comments, and there were a number of written comments, and there may have been a couple regarding equity core value, but there were a number of comments on all of the core values. I don't know, Doug, you want to expand on that?
It's very much what Randy said. There were some of those opinions expressed in the sort of free-form portions of the survey, and again, it gets to a lot of what Commissioner Faulkner is talking about, is people trying to understand the difference between equality and equity, and what does this all really mean. And so they had, there was, I would say, a portion of the response was, well, what does this really mean? And we want this, to be handled in a certain way, but I wouldn't say that was a majority of the comments that we got. But certainly those sentiments came through in the survey responses.
Great. Commissioner Evanoff?
Most of my comments actually are not related to REDI.
Is it grammar?
No, actually. The only grammar thing that stuck out was inequity gaps. I think we need to re-examine that term. Do you want a gap in inequity, or do you want a gap in equity? Anyway, the survey's looking at what exists now. So I look at the timeline of priorities on the back, and are they addressing, for example, the needs of what we're going to see once we have the development up against the hill and the expansion? Yeah, you have Diaz Road and the Diaz Road expansion, but not extension, for example, in the back of that. The need for the, the expansion of a couple of the intersections that are going to accommodate some of the development on that side of the hill, or at that side of the freeway. That kind of leaped out. Climate Action Plan, which is near and dear to my heart. I don't see anything in there for distributed power generation. What about resilience? You say resiliency. How about reliability? Is that a euphemism for really the same thing?
Yes, so distributed power, I don't believe came up in the discussion. There were a lot of other aspects of resiliency and the Climate Action Plan. That particular idea, I don't recall. So we'll make note of that as an additional element of that topic. The issue of reliability is part of resiliency in the framework of creating redundant backup systems. Right. So in that sense,
it may be a euphemism for the same thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that needed to be more clearly spelled out as we see more power service shutoffs, as we
Right.
need to deal with wildfire mitigations, things like that. That seems like an awful big matzo ball to overlook.
Right.
And one of the trends is to supply power at substations, either through batteries or through fuel
Right.
cells or a combination thereof. The timeline, is this just more or less what folks are saying they want as a priority, or is this, how carved in stone is this timeline? Over
The
there.
Citizens 20-year priority timeline?
Yeah.
there are so many projects that could potentially go on that timeline.
Sure.
That what we tried to do was we tried to represent all of the big projects. So if there were big interchange projects, those are $50 million projects. Those should be on there. Those are priorities for the community. But then also some of the programs, some of the plans, some of the recreational facilities, the
You wanted to
hospital
get-
expansion. So it was really, you know, this is such a broad level visionary document that that particular pullout is meant to be, and this is kind of going back in the history of this, but this was meant to be a coffee table type book.
Got it.
Where if you picked it up, you could see very easily read through it. It's meant to be easy to read, easy to use, and you could see the 7 core values. And then if you got to this, you could see the city has a lot going on. That's the intent. That's kind of the context for that timeline.
Got it. Thank you very much. Lastly, as somebody who's done public outreach and communications programs and stuff, you guys have done an outstanding job. I mean, holy cow. You hit them high, you hit them low, you hit them every which way. And you cannot understate how well, or you cannot overstate how great a job you guys did in reaching out to the community in every way.
Appreciate that.
This
From
is
all of you. Thank you.
Unbelievably thorough. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's amazing just reading through it. I know that you come here a couple of times and we've given you so much words. Just working with that alone was quite a task, but we enjoyed it. And as I read through it, I love it all so much, and really going back to Commissioner Lecter's thoughts and just reading through the vision statement, that paragraph, it's people's perception. They read it different ways, but the really good thing that we have going for us, if somebody read this in a way that they didn't feel included, we could say, well, it references our core values, and equity is one of those. So on the backside of that, what I would love us not only to promote that we have this master plan is that these are our core values, and I think that people seeing that equity is one of those, it is very inclusionary to our whole community, because not all the community always feels included. So I think that's huge, and I think it's something that really needs to be highlighted. The Temecula Way at the end, I absolutely am a diehard Temecula. I love Temecula. Unfortunately, not everybody else has the same perception of the Temecula Way. So again, pushing back on that, the fact that we have an equity core value is huge, because it does show that we want to maintain our old traditions, but we're also being progressive and inclusive, and are familiar with the diversity that our community has grown into. So I appreciate that. Let's see what other notes I had. Oh, as I read through the documents, I see on here that how we're measuring everything that we're doing and seeing that the right people are getting the information and that everybody's included. We have several graphs and diagrams and all that to make sure it's measured. I would love for, I don't know if this is you or this is every separate department, but for it to come back to the REDI Commission once a year and kind of have a quick synopsis. This is what we said in the master plan, and this is continuously what we're doing, because we want to make sure that even though we put it in words, that it's really, really important that as a REDI Commission, that everything is actually happening. The REDI Commission is going to go through an evolution of changes over the years. City Council is going to go through an evolution of changes over the years, but this is our master plan, and I would hope that we would all stick to it and do what's right for our community.
Yeah, I think you're going to see that happen. Once this is complete, one of the next work tasks is going to be creating that dashboard. There will likely be presentations to all of the commissions to unveil the dashboard, get feedback, and that's going to evolve over time as well. So I'm sure each commission will figure out how to provide that, annual report or annual update to their commissions. I'm sure that'll be part of the process.
Okay. Anything else, Randy?
Yeah, no, we absolutely will. The equity core value will probably end up becoming a part of this commission's annual report to the city council as well. And we can tie it in with that annual discussion as well. I did want to very quickly mention, as Doug went over some of the broader areas, for example, technology and environment, and you might not have seen necessarily the equity piece in there, but that doesn't mean it's not being done. So for example, under technology, we could have easily have put, the expansion of the fiber optic network system and more Wi-Fi gardens, that's part of our equity effort as well. But I think they went with kind of the biggest impact, but I just wanted to give that clarity that just because something is under one section doesn't mean that it's not indirectly being, touched on another section as well. Same is true for like the environment, right? I mean, there wasn't necessarily an affiliation with equity, but that doesn't mean that environmental justice and air quality for a particular neighborhood in our, that's come up in our discussions isn't necessarily gonna get addressed. Those things are being addressed. And then lastly, we are in the process right now of confirming with our consultant their availability. Your November meeting will actually give you a glimpse into the dashboard. So we're very, very excited about that. IT, Aaron Matthews, they will be out, and internally, Matt and I have gotten a preliminary view of what that looks like, and it's not necessarily the final dashboard for the QLMP. It's just an example of what a dashboard with health indicators, what a dashboard with certain demographic indicators, what all of that could look like, and we'll show you some examples of other cities that have used a similar dashboard. So give you that little sneak preview for November. We need everybody to be here, or they can go ahead and watch the video, of course. So, and then lastly, as a staff member, I will just say I would love to have Matt and Doug come and do our election outreach anytime they want. Every 2 years, you guys can come on over, because that level of outreach takes hours and hours and hours. And I know Matt Peters spent his own weekends out there doing what he needed to do because he lives, works, and plays here, and he deserves to be commended for that.
Thanks, Randy and Doug.
So I got a question for Randy. So I know having them come back annually, but is in new commissioner orientation, is the QLMP briefing given to them so they can understand the document before as they're going in and take the seats?
Yeah, so for new commission orientation, we actually give them a variety of documents, including the QLMP. Okay. So once the city council approves the QLMP, assuming they approve an equity core value as a part of the QLMP, in new commissioner orientation, we will definitely point that out. And then also we do have our commission appointment process coming up in November too, November 29th. And so new commissioners start January 1st. So that kind of lines up with the annual reports as well.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it.
I'd like to say, just end with Commissioner Evantov. If you have any comments, I know you're an editor. I won't get into how many eyes have been on this and how many changes and edits have been a part of this, but my staff report's due in a couple weeks. And as an editor, if you see anything, I'd be happy.
It looked really clean, overuse of a parenthetical, but other than that, it looked really clean.
Yeah, there's a few things I'd say this is 98% complete from an editorial standpoint.
It's pretty impressive.
Commissioner Evantov, if it makes you feel any better, as I was sitting here, I sent Matt an email saying, hey, can we go ahead and exchange the word citizen with resident throughout the document? Just these little things. And so please feel free to go ahead, and whether it gets incorporated or not, let's just go ahead at this stage. As long as there's nothing substantive that we're missing, we're good to go.
No, nothing substantive. It's just picking nits, as they say.
Well, we'll take it. If you send it over, I'll take a look at it.
No, it looks really clean, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Matt, Doug, yes.
Great. Well, that was wonderful. Thank you for that update, a lot of information. We're going to go ahead and do our commissioner reports. Who wants to go first? Don't all jump at once, exactly.
I'd love to go.
Good job, Adam.
Thank you. All right. So it's been my privilege to attend the California League of Cities. I saw Randy and some of the staff, city staff there, where this is an organization statewide that looks at city issues and advocates on these issues from a city perspective, not necessarily on a state perspective. And they looked at everything, including diversity and inclusion, looking at youth issues, age-related issues, as well as ADA issues, and how to be a more fun city, how to be a more, what was another one? More economically opportunistic city, a variety of topics. And so it was a privilege to go to that. Attended the Multicultural Network. This is kind of my rounds that I make anyway. The El Grito event last month was a huge celebration. It was great to celebrate that, kind of a jump start on Hispanic Heritage Month. Got to join Commissioner Steed at the youth mural, as well as Commissioner Sizemore. And then starting to increase support for the Black Chamber. And then we had an increased number of discussions at the Temecula Valley Chamber's REDI committee regarding a variety of issues that had occurred in Old Town and throughout the city, and how best could the business community and the REDI committee within the chamber serve the general business community as a whole, to address things such as HR, or if there is a incident related to race, equity, diversity, and inclusion where the small business doesn't know necessarily how to handle it, but how to go forward. So we're in early plans to do some seminars open to the public business community. We're still working on that, but it certainly came to a head over the summer, and it's something that is now being addressed. So anyway, that's enough talking for me.
Commissioner Faulkner?
Be quick. Had a great discussion with a community mental health promoter in the Asian Pacific Counseling and Treatment Centers for Riverside County, Riverside Center, and she was just having a conversation about AAPI in Temecula, and some of the concerns and barriers for them. It was good to hear from her, and some of the things that we can work on. Some of the same things for some of the underserved communities. Bullying is an issue in the AAPI community in Temecula, is what she's saying, and she's hearing that from her constituents' families. So something TVUSD is working on to try to mitigate. She also shared with me some good information. I didn't know about it. TVUSD has Family University. I don't know if you guys were aware of that. And it was my first time hearing about it, so it was really good to hear that they do a variety of topics: bullying prevention, family dynamics, personal empowerment, resilience, responsibility, coping and management with stress and anxiety, suicide awareness and prevention, internet safety, connection and relationships. So a lot of good training that comes out of that for families and their kids to wrap around them to make sure they're able to navigate some of these things and concerns they're having to go through, and having a support system around them. So it was good to hear about that, and hear that TVUSD has taken up the mantle to have this family university that supports our students and enshrines and encircles them with community support with their families and everything else. So other than that, that's all I had.
Great, thank you. And then Commissioner Lecters.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. So I'm now off sabbatical. This is my first week back at work, so I flew to Phoenix on Tuesday and was at a 2-day convening of about 15 jurisdictions focused on racial justice, which is why I was late. So again, apologies for being late coming back, because the 15 need some help coming from San Diego. I had a chance to meet with Councilmember Alexander and with Mayor Ron over the last few weeks, just to get to know them and have some conversations. I had a chance to meet with our city manager and spend some time with him to catch his vision and his thoughts. So it was a nice connection, nice conversations with those folks, just to kind of hear where they are and get to know them and them to get to know me. I had a chance to visit Rancho Damacitas, and actually Mayor Pro Tem Swank was there at the same time, so we did the tour together. Had a deep conversation with Allison Willits at CMOH as in trying to figure out how to be a resource to her. And so there were some conversations about how there might be some support for her in terms of her leadership and organizational development as she's building out CMOH. I went and visited Birth Choice. My wife and I went at Councilmember Alexander's invitation to visit Birth Choice and saw the operations down there. I went on a ride-along with Riverside's Finest. That was an adventure. I showed up at the sheriff's office at 6 o'clock in the evening, and they informed me that I was approved to do a full 12-hour shift. And I was like, whoa. I made it 5 hours, and they dropped me off. But it was a pretty low-key experience, and I actually ran into the deputy that I rode along with the last week, and he told me that right after he dropped me off is when everything popped off. There was a kidnapping and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, I did get to watch them do an intervention with a mental health issue, and it was really powerful to watch our deputies respond in a way that was pretty amazing. I received a call from one of our citizens who had attended a planning meeting for an upcoming Juneteenth celebration, next year's Juneteenth celebration. And there was a concern raised, so I'm bringing this here. I don't know if, I don't have all the details, and this is secondhand, so I'm delivering this. But she was concerned that in this planning meeting, there had originally been a plan to do some kind of live exhibit related to the Underground Railroad, and that had been removed from the plan, and so she was concerned about that. I told her I would bring it to our commission, and see if there was a conversation to have about that, and I don't know if that's our role. So that was one of the things that I wanted to bring to the commission. Actually, I probably should have asked the question about what our role is in elevating these issues first before I brought that, because then there's the other one, and I think you were alluding to this, Commissioner Evanta, of the issue in Old Town where the woman was barricaded in the bathroom, and that's an issue I think we should be talking about. But I want to make sure that I'm not stepping out too far. And I know, Randy, you will keep me in line.
No,
but those are a couple of things that I wanted to talk about, and the question about the Juneteenth planning, and I don't know what to do with that. So
I appreciate that. So for the Juneteenth planning, and I believe it actually has to do with some sort of an exhibit at Temecula Valley Museum.
Right.
And our Community Services Director is aware of that particular concern, and it has been brought forward, and the appropriate folks, including the president of the Community Services District, will be included in on those particular discussions. So that is a known concern, and they are dealing with it. With respect to the other item that you referenced, that is also a known concern, and a few council members have had meetings with the affected business owner, and so that's also been addressed.
is there a role for this commission in those kinds of things? To either, I don't know what it would look like, but to provide some resources to the council to, I know we can't act independently and step outside of this function, but I'm just curious if there's a greater role, some kind of activity, something that we could do that was more responsive.
Yeah, so basically we are here in an advisory capacity, and we provide feedback on those items that the city council directs us to provide feedback from. That does not mean that if residents were to come here, we also create a safe space for residents to go ahead and come here and voice their concerns. So we, once we hear those concerns, we go ahead and elevate them to the city council. In fact, I'm doing my little update to them now as we're sitting here. So if we had had public comments tonight on those particular issues, we would have shared that with them and said we had public comments. If they then say, REDI Commission, we would like you to look at ABC involving this issue, then we would go ahead and look at that.
Can we ask for assignments from the council?
I think that is something you can certainly bring up during your annual meeting with them. That is the purpose of the annual meeting with each board and commission, is to have that dialogue of this is everything that we've looked at over the last year. This is our accomplishments from the last year. City Council, do you have anything specific you would like us to look at the upcoming year? And if there's something you would like to suggest, that would be the time to do it. But typically speaking, because we are appointed and not elected, and they have that information directly from staff and the experts that are dealing with that particular issue right now, including being present in meetings and things like that. Typically, it would be City Council that would be lead on those types of items.
Thank you. I'm done. Thank you.
So, I want to just echo on what Commissioner Lecter just said. So it is our responsibility to address it here, even though it may be a statement made and you providing feedback saying, hey, these things are going on, because we do want them to know that as a REDI Commission, we hear what's going on. And that was an unsafe position that we put a citizen in our city and her establishment was in an unsafe and untenable situation. So we do want to let any citizen, not just when this incident happened, any issue happens like that, we're going to bring it here and have a discussion. And just like you just did, this is what's going on with that, because we still want our citizens to know this is a safe space. We're here for them. We're a voice for them. Absolutely. To the city council. Although we can't mandate them to do something, we are going to bring these things up, and then we are going to talk about them here. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks.
Commissioner Evanthoff, are you good? All righty. Yeah, just to echo on that same thing, and we just want to make sure that all of our citizens and our business owners feel safe in this community. They deserve that. That's why we all live here. That's why it's now going to be a core value that we're safe and equitable and above and beyond. So I think as REDI commissioners, I know I visited the business and a couple of other commissioners did also, just to keep that dialogue going and to let them know that we are behind the scenes and that we are here for our community. But again, we work under the direction of the City Council. So let's see, in the last month, I visited for the second time. MSJC has a class for nonprofits and represented the REDI Commission there and just had that REDI conversation with the students. So that was really, really interesting, and just talking about equity and diversity and inclusion, because those are all topics that they deal with, obviously, within the nonprofit community. So it was definitely a very good conversation. The mural unveiling, as always, is absolutely beautiful. And I love that the electrical box coverings that are now appearing in Old Town? They are so much better than I even thought they would be. They're so beautiful. I mean, you drive in and it just looks like a more artsy community. So I think that's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, to echo what Commissioner Evanthoff said, we are having those REDI or DEI conversations within the business community also. We don't always see it or hear about it, but they're definitely happening. And we're getting to a stage in that where it's going to start morphing into something more. So we're excited about that, but those conversations have been happening for almost 2 years now. So we're getting places, slowly but surely. And then I've also had conversations with 4 candidates, people that are interested in being appointed on the REDI Commission. So again, we see as another year passes that this commission is needed and popular within our community, and that a lot of people really want to be part of it. Our job, and I try to say this every meeting, our job here is to, through a REDI lens, make sure that our city is performing its policies and its programs that is inclusive of everybody within this community. And so for anybody that wants to be a REDI commissioner, so as long as they know that and that is the intent moving into it, that they'll get exactly what they want out of it. And I appreciate everybody's time here. Thank you for being here, gentlemen, surrounded. I don't know where that came from. I don't know.
Oh, that is a brochure from the Institute for Local Government, of which I am a board member.
Oh.
And they provide a lot of great resources regarding ethics training, and they're actually doing equity work as well. So that's just an informational brochure for you to have. With respect to the executive director's report, just a few things. As Commissioner Evanthoff mentioned, I did have the privilege of going to the League of California Cities annual conference as a board member, and serving on this year's nominating committee. So if you get a chance, please go ahead and Google Cal Cities, League of California Cities, and the executive board. You will see a very diverse board. A few of the members are the first in League of California's history to serve in those capacities.
Wow.
So just a lot of good things happening. And then I also had the privilege of ICMA's equity cohort member going to the annual conference and serving as the representative on behalf of the 2022 ICMA equity cohort to managers across the nation that are looking for an equity toolkit. And so the equity cohort practitioners put together a toolkit over the last 2 years, kind of like a cookbook of sorts for us practitioners on things that work, things that don't work, what happens when, you know, we made it out to be kind of like almost like a recipe book, you know, with different options and things like that. So, so just to be able to represent the ICMA equity cohort, that was amazing. Commissioner Evanthoff? The International City and County Management Association. Thank you very much. I just assume with the acronyms. And so that, and then last but certainly not least, yes, our board and commission annual recruitment process is now closed. And the REDI Commission was once again the commission that we had the highest number of applications for. And both of our incumbents, Commissioner Jackie Steed and Commissioner Crystal Pastorian, reapplied. So a very good luck to you. And those appointments will be made, I think at the November 29th meeting is what we are scheduling for. And the terms will begin January 1st, as they do for all commissions. So that's all I have.
Okay, wonderful. And with that.
Just really quickly, don't forget to vote. Please, please vote. November 8th is our general municipal election for districts 1, 3, and 5. For outreach purposes, we actually sent a mailer physically home to all 41,000 residents, letting them know the one of 3 ways they can vote. Folks should be receiving their mail ballots any day now. They began mailing them out this week, and you can simply complete it and mail it. You can drop it off at one of the drop-off locations, including here at City Hall during business hours, or you can go ahead and surrender your ballot and vote in person at one of the vote centers during the last 4 days or so leading up to the election. All that information is also on our webpage, and we will have social media blasts and all of that good stuff to follow up.
So you can find, or you can request a new mail-in ballot if you accidentally threw out the one that they first gave you. You can request a new one from our website or from the county registrar.
For a ballot, if for some reason you misplaced your ballot, you lost your ballot, if you do contact me, I'm going to direct you to the Riverside County ROV's office, which is the Registrar of Voters office.
Perfect. And I know that the chamber did a candidate forum, so for local elections, I encourage everybody to do their homework on their candidates. So lots of good information on there. Alrighty, with that, we are ready to adjourn. Thank you, everybody, for a great meeting.
Thank you. Well done.